How's it going, my spooky bakers? Hope you're having a fine day so far. Welcome back to another video. Today we're making some black charcoal donuts. So let's get in the kitchen and get started. These beautiful black donuts will be a sure hit at Halloween. And there is nothing crazy here. It's just a very quick and simple recipe with some added charcoal. Activated charcoal has no flavor, so whilst the donuts will look spooky, they'll taste no different to regular donuts. They are light and soft and sweet. You really can't go wrong with a donut. If you've never made donuts at home, this will be a perfect introduction. So let's just get right to it and let me show you how it's done. Starting with the ingredients, we need some white bread flour, yeast, salt, some sugar, soft butter, a whole egg, some milk, vanilla paste or vanilla syrup or vanilla essence, it's up to you. And we'll need the activated charcoal powder. You can find this on Amazon storefront, but your local supermarket might stock it as well. As a filling, I chose a beautiful dark red raspberry jam. I think it fits the theme very well. I'll use some icing sugar for the stencil and of course some oil for frying. You can use vegetable oil or sunflower oil, it's up to you. If you are going to use groundnut oil like I am, make sure you don't give these donuts to anyone who's allergic to peanuts. The activated charcoal that I'm using is made from coconut. Usually it is used in alleviating belly aches in the case of food poisonings and such. It is totally safe to consume for almost everyone. And this recipe contains a very small portion of it too. But if you are on some certain medications, be sure to consult your doctor just in case. Alright, moving on to the equipment, we'll need a bowl for mixing our dough in, we'll need scales, a dough scraper, a temperature probe, we'll need a pan for frying the donuts, something to fish the donuts out the oil with. I'm going to use a slotted metal spoon. Chopsticks are a great tool for flipping the donuts as they fry. It will also be useful for making a hole in the donut for filling. I will use a tray and a rack for draining the donuts. If you can't make this setup, you can use some kitchen paper instead. Or you could try using a colander or sieve perhaps. To get the filling in, we'll use a piping bag with a nozzle. You could probably get away with not using a nozzle, but you definitely need a piping bag. And last but not least, we'll need a stencil. I've had this stencil for a couple of years. It always comes in handy on Halloween. You can find all the equipment that I used in this video in my Amazon storefront, link below. Okay, let's begin. And it all starts with temperature control. My kitchen is about 23 degrees Celsius or 73 degrees Fahrenheit. So I just let my milk sit out at room temperature before I used it. To make the dough, grab a large bowl, pour the milk into it, add the yeast, the salt, the sugar, the charcoal powder, the egg, the butter, which I melted to make it easier to work into the dough, and the vanilla paste, and then we'll give everything a good mix. Once everything's nicely mixed up and all the ingredients have dissolved, add the final ingredient, white bread flour. Then grab your dough scraper and mix it to a dough. I'm aiming for a final dough temperature of around 24 degrees Celsius or 75 degrees Fahrenheit. If your dough turns out warmer, it'll ferment more rapidly. If it's cooler, it'll take longer. I will ferment this dough at room temperature, but you could cold ferment if you wanted to. Simply pop the dough into the fridge after mixing, leave it to chill for 30 minutes, then pull it out and give it a fold. Then place it back into the fridge for a long cold fermentation of around 18 to 24 hours. If you watch the channel for any time, you already know how it goes. If you are going to ferment at room temperature, cover the dough up, leave it to ferment for 30 minutes and then give it a fold. To perform the fold, wet your hands with water, release the dough from the bowl, pick it up, then fold the sides of the dough down and push them back up into the center of it. Keep doing this until the dough ball becomes relatively tight. But don't expect much at this point, the dough is quite loose. The charcoal powder weakens the gluten a bit, so a single fold will not be sufficient. After giving the dough a fold, place it back into the bowl, cover it up, leave it to ferment for another 30 minutes and then give it a second fold. Now it should feel tighter and less sticky. After the second fold, we will let it ferment for another 30 minutes, for a total of 1.5 hours bulk fermentation. If you are cold fermenting it, one fold will be sufficient. I will proof the donuts on a cling film lined baking tray, which I'll also brush with some oil. It will ensure that they don't stick and that they are easily removable from the tray when we go to fry them. There is no pre-shaping step this time, so all you need to do is dust your dough with flour, weigh it and then divide it into 12 equal pieces before final shaping it. If you want to make larger donuts, you can divide this dough into fewer pieces, perhaps 10 or 8, but you don't want to make them too big because they will take longer to cook. I think that dividing the dough into 12 gives us a perfect size. If you are going to adjust it, perhaps make them smaller, but it is up to you at the end of the day. This dough is slightly sticky, so you want to dust it with flour when shaping. To shape the donut, take a piece of dough, flatten it out, then fold the edge over the middle, go around in a circle until you've reached the point where you started. Then flip it smooth side up again, tighten it against the table, and perhaps use your dough scraper to help you out. and keep sprinkling some more flour if you feel like the dough is sticking too much. When you are arranging the dough balls on the tray, give them at least a thumb's worth of space in between. Cover them up with a piece of cling film that you've also brushed with some oil. The final proof will take around 1 hour, but of course this depends on the temperature of your kitchen. You want to start heating up the oil towards the end of the final proof. Okay, these bad boys are ready to be fried. You don't want the oil to be too hot. Around 170 degrees Celsius or 340 Fahrenheit will do it. Once it has reached this temperature, you want to turn the heat down so it doesn't keep heating up. Leave the stove on medium-low or even low heat. Drop the dough balls in the oil with the smooth side down. They will take around 5 minutes to fully cook. I like to flip them after every minute until the 5th minute. During the 5th minute of frying, I like to flip them after 30 seconds. It is pretty hard to tell if they're done or not just by looking at them. But if you cook them at the right temperature and you set a timer, they should be fully cooked in 5 minutes. And these bad boys are definitely ready. So let's fish them out the oil, leave them to drain, and then move on to finishing them. Whilst they are draining and cooling down, we can prepare the filling. So grab the piping bag and the nozzle if you're using one. Take a pair of scissors, cut the tip off of the piping bag. If you are not using a nozzle, you don't need to cut the tip of the piping bag quite yet. But if you are using a nozzle, stick it to the hole in the bag, then twist the bag up behind it and push it inside the nozzle. This will ensure that the filling doesn't leak out. Place the bag in a tall cup. Open the bag up and fold the sides of it down, and then scoop the filling into it, whatever it may be. Custard, jam, chocolate spread, it's up to you. If your bag is big enough, you can tie it up just like this. Alternatively, take a piece of cling film and tie it off. Okay, this is ready to be used now. Let's fill us up some donuts. I will demonstrate the process on one donut. I would suggest filling them all at the same time, meaning that you should do the same jobs at the same time. First, make the holes in all the donuts, and then fill all the donuts. Instead of making one hole, filling it up, and making another one and filling that up. That would not be efficient. I like to first use the thin end of the chopstick to poke a hole in the donut, and then I like to widen it using the thicker end. Wiggle it around to create more space for the filling. Then stick the nozzle in and give it a good squeeze. But don't go crazy, there is only so much filling you can fit in there. Wherever the donut can't hold, you'll push back out again. Okay, once you have filled up all your donuts, you can stencil them. And there is not much to it. Just place the stencil on the donut and sprinkle with some icing sugar. Remove the stencil slowly and carefully. And there you go. That's how you make spooky Halloween donuts. They look impressive, even though the recipe is super simple. And they are so sweet and tasty. They are sure to be a hit with kids as well as adults. And if you are like me, you just munch 6 of them by yourself. Let's have a little look at the crumb of this dough ball, just to show you how soft it really is. You could definitely use this recipe to make some burger buns. I would suggest lowering the hydration a little bit to make the dough easier to handle, and to make the buns taller rather than wider. So what do you think of this recipe? And have you tried any of my other charcoal recipes? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this one, click over here. Subscribe to the channel, click right here. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.